On any given Sunday, you hear what they don't play. Tune in, call in, you never know. Might spin a blend off something new tech or something from way back when. It was all about the music then, so tell a friend. Phil Jackson showing love to those that get it in. From the hood, out of town, north, you in the pen. Corporate white collar to the college and geeking. All sides, brother, won't miss a corner, stay on it. Spit entertainment in they own lane and bumming. From the soup kitchen with hot plates, ain't about nothing. Side B radio, shut it down, that's no assumptions. Other stations bullshit around and yeah, they lunching 5 to 7 every Sunday evening. Indie to the major artists all in one rotation. At the same time, we Jersey scheming. WPRB 10.3.3.
Hey, what's going on? This is Phil Jackson, host of Sabi Radio on WPRB 103.3 FM, where I feature classic and independent hip hop every Sunday, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. And the rebroadcast for the summertime is Tuesday morning, 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. here on WPRB 103.3 FM. This is going to be our second interview. Big shout out to Louis Sincere and King Arthur. They were the very first interviews that I did for video, promoting their new project. It was pretty dope, man. Shout out to those brothers out there in Massachusetts. Listen, I need to step it up a little bit. Not saying that was a dope interview, but you know, I had to get somebody that, you know, that I've been following for years. But before I start that, before I go into my guest that's about to come on, big shout out to DJ Soulbuck, man. Please listen to him every Thursday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Beat Miners Radio. Mr. Street Sickness, playing all those joints, man. Also, this is on the YouTube page, so please go hit the like button and subscribe, because this is all under the Boombox Union, where me and DJ Soulbuck host. And, you know, we just talk about the culture, man. This is separate from the Boombox Union, but it's still under the same umbrella. So, you know, just all of this is good content, good hip hop that we're trying to bring to you. So without further ado, man, like this artist, how can I explain this, man? Like this artist, he's been doing this for years. Always been consistent. The one thing I like about him, like you know about him, but you don't know too much about him, because that's just how he's designed, and it works perfectly, because when he drops new music, it's a surprise to all of us. It's like, oh, you know, he has new music out. So with that being said, I got my man, and he's been on Sabi Radio before, The Last Emperor, man. So first of all, congratulations on your new project, and thank you for coming on the show, man.
Peace. I want to say greetings, obviously, to you, Phil. Thank you for having me. I want to say peace to the Universal family and the WPRB listening audience. Thank you for having me.
No doubt. Now, you came on my show, I think around 2017, and seven years later. You were promoting your album back then. Now you came out with a new album. So how does it feel coming out with a new album years later, man? Like is the drive still there for you to actually make music? Like, so what's your inspiration to put this new album out?
Well, the drive is definitely there. You know, throughout all the things that have happened in my professional career, at the core of what I do is a love for the culture and the art form of rhyming. So even without putting material out, I'm always, you know, writing and thinking up new concepts and new rhymes and just playing around with the art form. Um, so to be able to finally come out with a cohesive project and put all those thoughts and ideas and artistic expressions in one piece of art is great, man. It's great every time. And, you know, fortunately now I'm at a point in life where I can, I'm not rushed. I'm not, rapping to pay the bills. I'm not, pressured in any way. As long as I have the comfortability and the sound mind to put art together, then that's what I've been doing. So it feels great to have a new project out.
No, that's what's up. Now, we're gonna talk about the new project in a few minutes, but just let my audience know about your musical journey, man, because it's very interesting of how or where you started up until now. So, just let my audience know like your background in the music industry.
Sure, sure. Well, after growing up here in West Philly, um, the same places like, the Fresh Prince, the Youngsters, Bahamadia, Schoolie D, uh, DJ Jazzy Jeff, the list goes on. Um, Steady B, Cool C, all of those guys. Um, Rhyming and hip hop was just something very organic. It came to me at a point where I was a very young person, and as soon as I could get off the steps or off the porch, as they say, I was involved in hip hop, and it just so happened to be simultaneous with when hip hop was kind of like, first gaining national attention.
Right.
So after, just emceeing and other forms of hip hop, whether it be graffiti, whatever. After doing those things organically for a number of years, it just kind of stayed with me all through any other, destination in life. When I got to, high school, hip hop was there. When I got to college, hip hop was there. Um, about the time that I was enrolled in Lincoln University here in Pennsylvania, uh, from 1990 through 1995. I had an opportunity to do like a lot of talent shows, a lot of open mic, situations on campus, off campus, things of that nature, other colleges, and just develop my craft. And a lot of people and a lot of friends that I had from a lot of different places always gave me that push and that encouragement to keep doing what I was doing, to keep rhyming, keep emceeing. People around. I had a lot of great friends and comrades that saw my talent and really really promoted me to push it further and pursue it. So around 1995, uh, a good friend of mine, I consider my brother, named Q, out of Brownsville, Brooklyn. He and I were both in the political science department at Lincoln University. Uh, Upon graduating, he was really like, "Yo, you need to do something with this talent," and I think I might be the person to help get you in the arena, so to speak, of being like a real recording artist and putting you out there. So around 95, after I graduated, I moved to Brooklyn. Um, and while I was living in New York, I just did every open mic, every talent show that I possibly could. One of which was the Lyricist Lounge, which was
Okay.
a popular talent showcase um, all through the '90s in New York City in Manhattan. And it was basically like you know almost like the Apollo. Like you get up there,
Mm.
you perform, and but the interesting thing is at these showcases and at these shows, there was like every MC you could imagine. You look out in the crowd, Craig G might be out there, Master Ace might be out there, uh, Buckshot might be out there, the Jungle Brothers might be out there. You name it, it was that type of crowd. So it really gave you an opportunity to perform in front of hip hop's elite MCs. So That's pretty much how I started my first foray into uh, being exposed in terms of like New York City, which is obviously the mecca of hip hop.
Mhm.
So yeah, man, just that's where it started, and after being given a certain amount of exposure at the Lyricist Lounge, I started creating somewhat of a buzz in the New York City area, as well as at home, and really all up and down the East Coast, because the Lyricist Lounge started doing shows and a lot of different places. um Subsequently, while all this is going on, put together a demo tape. Back then, it was an actual cassette tape.
That tape, right.
That's how long it was. How long ago it was. So I put together a demo tape, and another comrade of mine that also went to Lincoln University before he got out of school. Uh, he went. He told me me and Q went back up to Lincoln for a concert. We were opening up for KRS-One.
Okay.
So the homecoming concert was the headliner was KRS-One, and they allowed me to open up. It was like a big deal because I graduated, and here I am. I come back the next year, and I'm opening up for KRS-One. So it was awesome. And after the concert, a good friend of mine named Damon Johnson, Dame Dollars, said that he was about to go move to California, and his older brother would be working on videos with Dr. Dre. He said,
Okay.
listen, I can't promise you anything, but I can guarantee you that I at least get Dr. Dre to listen to your demo tape if you give me a copy of it. So we gave Damon a copy of the demo tape. He kept his word. He took it out to LA. And sometime later, I was like getting a phone call from Dr. Dre himself.
Oh wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
so tell me how that phone call went. Like, what was the conversation like?
Well, it was very brief initially. Dame called me first and said, yo, are you sitting down? I said, yeah, I'm seated. He was like, yo, Dr. Dre is going to call you. And, he just wants to talk to you, chop it up with you for a minute, but he really, really likes your demo. So he called. I think my younger sister answered the phone initially. And, this is back when, everyone had a landline. Like you just had one phone in your house.
Right. Right.
So she picks up the phone and she's calling me, and she's like, yo, somebody is on the phone playing saying it's Dr. Dre. I'm like, yo, that's really him. That's really him. Like, don't hang up. So
now, what year was this? And like, when you say Dr. Dre, like put into perspective of where he was at in his career. Was this before Death Row or pre Death Row?
This is after Death Row.
Okay.
This is after Death Row. He's going on to create Aftermath, his own imprint, and it was shortly after. I know he put out a project, and I think the lead single was "Been There, Done That."
Okay. Mm-hmm.
For those who may remember, "Been There, Done That" was like the lead single. I think there may have even been a record, an Eve of Destruction record on there. So we're talking like, I want to say 1997 leading into 1998, aroundish, somewhere around there. So yeah, so I get on the phone and he just was like, "Yo, what's up, homie? I heard your tape is, it's dope. Like what's going on?" I was like, I mean, of course, I mean, it's Dr. J. So for a minute, I was like, I didn't know what to say. I just was very appreciative. I'm like, yo, I'm glad you like it. I'm a huge fan. I can't wait to work. I would love to be able to do something, over there with you guys. So he was like, yeah, we're going to make it happen. And, after I got like a real, I had to then get a real lawyer. He had, some attorneys get in touch with me, and fast forward a few months, and I eventually signed my first recording contract with Aftermath Records, which was a subsidiary of Interscope.
Right. Okay.
Which is a subsidiary of Interscope.
So how was that whole feeling when you sign your name to your first contract? Like, was it disbelief? Like was it like, yo, I'm leaving Philly, I'm going straight to LA? So so take me back. Like how did all that play out?
Yeah, well, before I actually signed, he actually brought myself and my homie Q, who,
Okay.
you know, eventually, like I said, he's like my brother, but he was actually on paper my manager. So he flew us both out to LA. It was my first time in on the West Coast, my first time in Los Angeles. Uh, it was a great experience. Um, you know, we had a really good group of conversations about, you know, his journey through through hip hop and through recording, being a recording artist and a, you know, and a super producer and all that, and, you know, just initially breaking the ice and him getting a feel of who I was and me getting a feel of, you know, who he was, aside from what we may see, you know, obviously in front of the, you know, camera and, you know, in magazines and videos. And what I got from Dre was he was very sincere in wanting to uh, take his career in a new sort of direction. You know,
Okay.
obviously he's seen a lot of things happen with the whole death row era. You know, obviously having witnessed, you know, the death of Easy E, the death of Tupac Shakur, um, and in and everything that surrounded Death Row Records. So this was his somewhat his fork in the road. Like, you know, where's my talent going to lead me in this next chapter of life? And
Gotcha.
I would like an artist such as Last Emperor to be a part of that journey. And, you know, he's very sincere gentleman, very, you know, upfront about a lot of things. And yeah, the next thing I know, I was rocking, man. It was surreal, you know,
Mhm.
for a young guy at that time. I'm probably like 26, you know, to be, you know, given the opportunity to take something that I'm pretty good at, but, you know, keeping in mind that it is art and it is artistic. Um, and what I want to say with all of that is I was very much still aware of that famous phrase within hip hop given by Q-Tip, that industry rule number
4,000.
3080.
Yep.
What is it? Is it 4080
Oh,
or
it's street.
3008? Oh, what? Right. We know what it is. Record company people
Right.
are shady. So, and that's not to say that Dr. Dre is per se, but I was already going into the situation with that knowledge that,
Right.
yes, I feel like on one hand, I feel like I just won the Super Bowl, but at the same
Right.
time, I've heard and did the knowledge on so many other instances with so many other great artists that I knew that, you know, this doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, you finally found nirvana. What it means is you're a step closer to achieving your goal of creating actual records.
Right.
So it was great, man. The time that I spent on Aftermath, I mean, it was you know, perhaps more short lived than I would have liked. I didn't do as much as I would have liked, as, you know, while I was there, but it was a great learning experience. And I was there for about almost 2 years.
Okay.
Um, I think what happened was, you know, with Dr. Dre, I think he had very sincere intentions about working with artists such as myself. But during that time, he signed a lot of talent. I mean, a
Right.
lot of talent, not just hip hop, but R&B as well. Vocalists, groups, you name it. He was trying to figure out who would be that core of Aftermath roster.
Right.
So it was obviously myself, uh, a young lady also from Philly named Eve. Some of you may have heard of. Went on to have success with the Rough Riders. Uh, Dawn Robinson from In Vogue.
Right. Yep.
King T from what King Tila, you know, the famous West Coast MC. Uh, and another guy that some of you may have heard of named Marshall Mathers, Eminem. So we were all on the label at the same time, and even a bunch of acts and groups that I may not be familiar with, it may escape me right now, but I think Dre signed a whole bunch of talent and didn't really know which one of us to hone in on. So I think he narrowed it down. Obviously, we all know how history played out to pretty much like Marshall Mathers. Eminem became like his focal point artist, and a lot of the other artists. Some stayed on Interscope, some went other places. Like Eve went on to have success with Rough Riders, which was also up under the Interscope umbrella, but she still did records with Dr. Dre.
Right.
I think King T left the label altogether. I'm not sure about Dawn Robinson after that, but myself, I saw that I wasn't really being able to record with Dre at the capacity and rate that I initially expected. So after sitting around for a while, I just decided it was time for me to kind of go somewhere else. So the parent company Interscope held on to me for about another, almost a year. But yeah, that's pretty much how things went in Aftermath.
So, did you do any writing for other artists while you were under Dr. Dre?
No, I did not specifically. No.
Oh, okay. What would the, because you just named like iconic all-star roster. So like
Yeah.
what were those studio sessions like? 'Cause I know they had to be like so much creativity was bouncing off the walls, R&B wise and hip hop wise. So like take me through those studio sessions because they sound crazy.
Yeah. See, the thing is, a lot of times Dre had everyone isolated. So you would have your own individual experience with him. But there was one time that I think he was in the early stages of recording for the Chronic. Was it the Chronic 2000 or
Something
2001, whatever, something to
yes.
that effect? So after a few months of being frustrated, I'm living in California at the time, but I'm not being allowed to record at the rate that I was expecting. So a friend of mine told me that Dr. Dre was on a particular day recording at a particular studio, and
Mhm.
that it probably would be a good idea for me to just pop up over there. So in coordination with Eve, she's from Philly too, so that was like my Philly homie out there. So we call her. We're like, yo, we heard Dre is at a particular studio at a particular time on a particular day. Um, why don't we just bum rush, just go over there and show up?
Right.
So that's what we did. Me, Eve, we just crashed the studio session. It was like he had a few other MCs in there, and they were working on, I think, that Chronic album, because I think one of the beats that I've heard on that album was playing in the studio this particular day.
Okay.
So Dre was a little frustrated at the fact that, first of all, we found out where he was going to be on this particular day at this particular time in this particular studio.
Right.
So he's like, as a challenge to us, he was like, all right, I'm gonna just throw a beat on. You got maybe 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes to come up with your best verse. Whoever wins, the best verse is going on it. If your verse is whack, you getting out of here. And when I tell you that me and Eve smoked everybody in that studio
Mhm.
because we had something to prove.
Right.
A lot of those other guys were organic, and no disrespect. They were all talented, extremely dope, lyrical, talented people. But we had something to prove to Dre that, listen, we deserve to be here. We deserve to be in the studio with whoever else is in here, all of these guys. So
Mhm.
me and Eve, we gave them that Philly that Philly business. You know what I
Oh,
mean? So uh after it was over, Dre explained to us, listen, I know you guys are frustrated. I know that, you're not getting in the studio at the rate that you want, but trust me, this is a marathon. It's not a relay race, it's a marathon. It's not a 50-yard dash. So if you want to stick with me, It may be sometime, it could be a year or so before your project comes out, but stick with me. But if you don't feel like you can wait that long, I won't hold you up and I'll let you go. Now, this
Okay.
same night was the same night that, a lot of times we hear stories about the first time Dr. Dre met Scott Storch.
Okay.
I was there that night. This was that night.
Hmm.
And we walked into a separate room. Scott Storch was sitting at the piano. Eve knew him already. I didn't know him. Eve
Right.
knew him from Philly already, and I think she introduced him to Dre. But I was there that night as well. That's a lot of people tell that story, and they obviously don't mention me. But I was there that night.
Okay.
So I took into consideration what Dre said, and I said, listen, one thing about me is I study the full scope of emceeing and the full scope of hip hop. And I know that rhymes and music do sometimes have a shelf life. Patterns of emceeing and rhyme styles are changing constantly.
Constantly. Yep.
So with the music that I had while I was on Interscope, I said,
It,
listen, man, I
it
can't wait another.
right, because you knew that it was going to change.
Exactly. And I can't sit
You
here.
could see it. Yeah, you could
Yeah,
see
I
it.
can't be stagnant.
Exactly.
I can't be stagnant. I can't sit here for another year. Now, if I'm sitting here and I'm still productive and making music, but you can't put me in a bubble and isolate me, not really have me coming to the studio constantly, and then I gotta strike while the iron is hot. So
Right.
I decided to leave Aftermath, and one thing I can say to Dre's credit is he didn't hold me up. He kept his word. He let me go. He didn't tie me up in a lot of difficult paperwork, as some people in the music business can do. And he
Right.
just really respected my decision, and I think he really respected me as a human being.
Now, when you were out in Los Angeles, you had time to, maneuver around and just get the whole LA hip hop scene, down. So like, how was like back then? How was the LA hip hop scene, particularly the quote unquote underground hip hop scene in LA back in that time?
One thing I regret during my time out there, like I'm by nature, I'm a homebody.
Right, right.
A fun evening for me is watching my favorite movie or favorite cartoon or horror film or something like that. So I'm not really the go out type of guy. But the
Okay.
thing in LA is you gotta kind of, because stuff is spaced out, you gotta kind of extend yourself and be out and about. And I wasn't that type of person. But the few times that I did go out, I think I went to a few underground shows and saw groups like, the Licks and like Rascast perform and stuff like that. And I think maybe like the Far Side once or twice.
Okay.
So yeah, so then those are artists those are my style of artists. Those are the sort of artists that I gravitate towards and I like. That boom bap hip hop. But I like the gangster stuff too. And I sometimes I would go to, as long as there were no safety issues, because you have to remember during this time period, we're coming off the deaths of Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G. So it was still a little like, you just couldn't be going everywhere
Right.
I'm not saying that I felt any type of way being from the East Coast or whatever, but at the end of the day, at the time I was certainly looking the part. Me and my homie Q, we looked like East Coast all day, all night. So, we were very selective on where we would go because I'll be honest with you. Sometimes safety was an issue,
No,
but
no, absolutely. Real quick,
yeah,
not to cut you off, but I remember
yeah,
like around that time I was out in LA
yeah,
for a particular show, and I looked the East Coast part, and
right,
people were just staring at me because they're like, "Yo, this dude is from the East Coast," and
right,
I don't. It was definitely real.
right.
Like,
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And even with that being said, I got a lot of love while I was out there. Because I think if you come with a certain energy, I mean, of course, you got to be smart. You got to, be very aware of what you're wearing and color schemes and all of that. But aside from those things, I think if you give off a certain energy, the universe will return it and reciprocate that towards you. So I had a great time. My man Dame Dollars, he was dug in out there. He was living out there, so he knew all the do's and don'ts and the ins and outs of how to maneuver. So I had a great time, and I actually hated to leave. You know what I mean? The weather was impeccable, the greenery, everything, man. But yeah, man. So I really wish I had linked more with some West Coast artists. Like during that time when the first artist I met when I got out there was King T, and to this day I regret not really extending myself and saying, "Yo, because I'm a huge King T fan. At your own risk, act the
At your own
fool,
risk. Yep.
all of those things. Come on, man. He's super and he's lyrical. You know what I'm saying? East, west, north, south, whatever. If you're lyrical, I love you. So I love King T, and I regret not really trying to develop a relationship with him while I was out there. I think some things would have happened for me a little bit better. But you live and you learn.
Hey, one story that I had when I was out there, I remember back then, like the spring jackets, like the Nautica, Tommy Hill.
Yes.
I had a red Nautica spring jacket, and I was walking out because we were by the Coliseum. This is where the whole riots and all that stuff was at. So me and my friend, we were walking out, and he looked at me. He was like, "Yo, man, you ain't gonna wear that jacket out here, are you?" I was like, I said, "Is it that real?" He said, "Go take it off, bro." So yeah, I mean, so I do get that, but I want to get back to the Lyricist Lounge days because it was some iconic MCs that were a part of that beautiful, that whole setting.
Yeah.
What MC that performed at the Lyricist Lounge that you saw personally with your own eyes and you nudged to your friends like, "Yo, that dude right there, he got something right there." Was it who was that one MC?
I would have to say if I had to name one because there were so many
so many
nights that it just was like, yo, I would say Sean Price.
Okay. Wow.
I would say Sean Price. Because I've seen the evolution from the very first show that I ever did in New York City in front of a crowd was at the Hammerstein Ballroom.
Okay.
And they gave me maybe 5 minutes to perform. In the crowd is Helter Skelter.
Okay.
So after the show, somehow or another, we're in like the backstage area, something like that. Mm-hmm. And, we had a brief conversation, but he was kind of standoffish. Fast forward a little bit, I get to see him at another Lyricist Lounge show where the whole boot camp performed. It was extremely dope. Fast forward throughout a few more years, I'm on tour opening up for Smith & Wesson and Sean Price. The last Lyricist Lounge show that not the last, but the next to the last Lyricist Lounge show that I went to, Sean Price was there. Helter Skelter had connected, and he was so. It had been some years since I seen him because me and Sean Price, we have mutual friends. We have mutual friends from Brownsville.
Gotcha.
So, my family, my adopted family, my adopted cousin Blur is a Decepticon, and he was very, very good friends with Sean Price. So right. I would see Sean Price sometimes not even music related, just in the community. I saw him one time downtown Brooklyn in Fulton Mall. He would always show me so much love. Like, yo, when your stuff coming out, like, what up, what you doing, like da da da. Like he was an extremely great MC, but he was so secure in his greatness that he wasn't afraid to acknowledge yours.
Right.
He knew he was the best without a doubt, but he when he heard good music and good MCs, he would always pay homage to you as well as you reciprocating that. So I would have to say Sean Price because I saw from Ruck being one half of Helter Skelter, 1/8 of the boot camp, to his grind and developing a solo name for himself, and the rhymes and the cadence, the punchlines, the wit, the humor, everything got sharper and sharper and sharper. He was an MC's MC. So I want to say rest in power to Sean Price. He was a true inspiration. He was a good brother. A lot of other MCs that I've come across, I'll be honest, some of them didn't treat me so brotherly. They treated me like the competition. But Sean Price always showed love. So he stands out to me as like the top tier of MCs at the Lyricist Lounge.
Nah, rest in peace to Sean Price, man.
Yeah.
Anytime that I talk to somebody or interview somebody, they always had great things to say about Sean Price, and he was just before he passed, he was about to he was in the process of reinventing himself, and
That's right.
just the opportunities that could have came, but he did leave us some jewels, but it's just a shame that he did reach his full potential, but he was going to reach his second full potential, and rest in peace to Sean Price, man. But when was the first year that you dropped a whole project, and what was it under a label, or did you put it out independently?
Yeah, through the years, what would happen is my demo tape has such the songs on my demo tape were so strong. They started getting a lot of play on like a lot of the underground shows like Bobito, I think like Nighthawks and stuff like that, Martin Moore and stuff like that. A lot of shows, a lot of names escape me now. But the songs like Animalistics, like Secret Wars, like Monumental, like Meditation, those pretty much 4 core songs got so much play in the New York area and basically up and down the East Coast, just underground rap here in the States, period. And even some places abroad that I will find out later that they just took on a life of themselves. And I first started putting those singles out like winter of 95 going into 96.
Okay.
So those are floating around. And like I said, with the whole aftermath thing, I'm like, listen, man, I can't just rest on these 4 songs because now we're talking 98, 99. I gotta put out some more stuff. So that's pretty much what prompted me to leave Aftermath, like knowing that, listen, I gotta put a project out soon.
Right.
So it didn't happen until like I'm probably rushing a little bit, but I also was on Raucous Records for like a year and change, and that was a totally heartbreaking experience for a number of reasons. But
okay, go ahead.
I came to them with an 80% done project. All I needed was maybe to record like 4 songs. I recorded a song with the help of my mentor, Prince Paul. I recorded a song with the RZA called He Lives, which is actually a Last Emperor origin story.
Okay.
It was all set to rock. It was supposed to be on that first Sound Bombing album.
Okay.
Raucous dropped the ball. They did something screwy happened either with the paperwork or they didn't want to pay RZA or something like that. And that record just sat around. So that was like my last straw with Raucous, among other things. But After Raucous, a small indie label named Raptivism picked up
Yeah.
my project, and they put out the full project, I think, in like 2001.
Okay. Now you know what? And I don't want to speak too much on Raucous because, from a person from the outside, a fan from the outside looking
Yeah,
in, we were like, if you're a hip hop head, especially back then, and you see Raucous Records, you're like, yo,
yeah,
this is gonna be the label that we can just turn to of all our favorite stuff. And to be honest, you're not the first person, and you're probably not the last person to say what you just said, like by being disappointed, because
right.
like I said, like I said, I'm a fan outside looking in, and and for what I have heard years later, it's a little disappointing because that was supposed to be that record label right there was supposed to be our record label. That was supposed to be it.
Right, right. The home of the boom bap, the home of the boom bap. So many great artists, and I think basically what happened is, Raucous had good intentions initially, um, but after being in the record business for a couple of years, they started trying to compete with like the Def Jams and the larger,
Yep,
conglomerates. So it made them try to make the artists themselves make records that could compete with
exactly.
artists from those big labels
Yep,
instead of just saying like, listen, we are who we are because of what you guys do. Keep doing what you do. Our job is to polish what you do and put it out for mass consumption, but not to change it. And once they started to change the direction, the rest is history. So um, again, I take all of these experiences as learning, as somewhat like a classroom. I look at Aftermath as a classroom. I looked at Raucous like a classroom. What am I here to learn while I'm here? How can I take these skills and incorporate them for better or for worse into what I do moving forward so that when all of this is done, I have my diploma or my degree in what it is I'm here to learn at this particular dispensation of time. So, it was a learning experience, and I got to really, really connect with a lot of solid artists, tour and, open up for a lot of great artists. And it was a great time. It was a fun time, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to put my project out through them.
and you know what, and like you said, it was like a classroom, and in each classroom, sometimes it's half and half. Is good experiences and not so good experiences, and
That's right.
but but with the not so good experiences, those are still lessons that you can learn. That's okay. Well, maybe I won't do this next time, and so even though that
Right.
it wasn't it wasn't a good experience or what you thought it was still something that, okay, well, I'm thankful for the opportunity, and I'm thankful to learn what not to do. So no, I mean, I get that. I definitely get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
100%.
you come, so how long did you live in New York, and then when did you come back to Philly?
I lived out there for about 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, for about six or almost 7 years. And I mean, I would always come back and forth because I mean, it's only, 2 hours away, hour and a half, with no traffic. So I was always back and forth, but yeah, for like the better part of six and a half, 7 years. And you know, it was a great experience, man. Just the culture of specifically living in Brooklyn, like on any given day. Um, I could run into like I said, I would run into Sean Price a lot,
Mhm.
like a lot, because I was living like borderline Brownsville,
Okay.
so I would see him sometimes. Was just in the neighborhood. I would see like uh Billy Dance from MOP just on a pedal bike, just pedaling up near Eastern Parkway. I would see like General Steel, salute to General Steel.
Word.
Just it gave me an opportunity to see a different community. And the ironic part about it is where I was living in Brooklyn was almost just like my neighborhood in West Philly.
Okay.
Because I'll keep it 1,000 with you. I'm from a bad neighborhood. I'm from one of them neighborhoods where you try to talk to a girl in high school, you try to get her to come around the way, and she like, you live where? Oh hell no. You know what I mean? So where I was staying in Brooklyn was like basically Brownsville. So it's like it was the same thing. And every day when I woke up for living in West Philly, one of the things that took a lot of people who weren't from the neighborhood, it took them time to get used to hearing the train go by my house.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? I lived there so long that we just blocked it out. Like we don't even hear it. But people are like, that doesn't bother you hearing the train all day? No, I mean, I forgot it was even here. When I moved to Brooklyn, the 3 train was right by my window, just like in West Philly.
Just
So
like home. You say it feels just
it was
like
just like home. So what that taught me was that there's a commonality with all of us as people. And we may be thinking that we're going somewhere to have a different experience and a different set of circumstances. But sometimes we're surprised to find that where we end up is just like where we left. Very, very good people, very strong community, decent, hard working people. Of course, there's like anywhere in the hood, there's crime. There's
yeah.
you gotta know how to move. You gotta watch your back and all of that. But you know what I'm saying? A very, very fun time. Those 6-7 years made Brooklyn my second home for sure.
Now, no, speaking about Philly, and Philly definitely home of the DJs, definitely home of the battle rap spitters and all that.
Yeah.
When did you realize, or when did you see a change in the hip hop culture in Philly?
Well, I think to a certain degree, some things are constant. Like we're known for bars. We're known for we're gonna have an extended clip full of bars. Everybody raps. I even heard Jadakiss say once that what he loves about Philly is that I come to Philly and everybody's rapping, everybody's dumping, the little kids, the grandmothers, and this is real. It's really like that. Like.
Right.
It's so second nature because it's something that we do to pass the time. And that is a hand down from like back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, playing the dozens, being on the corner and just coming up with little rhymes and things of that nature to pass the time. So Philly is known for that. It's a very soulful place, and it's a rough, tough, tough type of town. So as far as the MCs, on a street level, that's been constant. Now, as far as this kind of like new wave of approaching, rap, if you want to even call it that, I would say within the past maybe 10 years, I started to notice like something else going on. Right. And some of it's good, some of it not so good. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I consider myself a hip hop fundamentalist, somewhat of a hip hop purist. I think boom bap is the core of hip hop. I think that anytime you stray away from that, you're straying away from the tenets of hip hop. I think hip hop is obviously more than just rap. It is MCing, it is b-boying, it is graffiti, it is DJing, and some would even say knowledge of self. When you listen to KRS-One, he says that knowledge of self is something that should also be implemented as one of the pillars. So I think that over the past 10 years or so, now that commercialized rap music has gone to like this really weird place that it's been going since kind of like the late 90s. KRS-One again coined it as like the Ice Age.
Right.
Everybody was, it was about rocking ice and being
Mhm.
flashy and flossy and I'm stunting, I'm driving this car and I got money, ha ha ha, look at me. But like he said, during an ice age, nothing grows, nothing nothing flourishes. It's about ice. It's cold. It's non-productive. And because of those things that were set down and some of those records that were made back then, we see what we see now. So I think within the past 10 years, I know on the street level, you still got a lot of young cats out there that still, care about raps, rhymes, bars, like being very lyrical. There's a core group that always will do that in Philly. But unfortunately, you got some of these mainstream groups that, are doing something weird.
Right. Who is the last emperor feeling right now coming out of the city of Philadelphia?
Oh man, right now I don't know his MC name, and I'm embarrassed to say that. However, he was just at. I've been seeing footage of the latest Roots picnic. His
Del
mother is a his mother is a very very good friend of mine. Before I was actually known as an MC, I was like a hip hop maneuver. Like I could dance real well. So me and my homie Tone from the Bronx, our freshman year at Lincoln, we opened up. We helped a young lady named Kim Skeef. Her father is like a legend in Philly as far as like a school called Harambe Institute. Very culturally aware family. Her son now is we at her son is an MC. Kim Skeef was an MC herself, and we opened up for Big Daddy Kane my freshman year.
Okay.
So I got to like kick it with like Scoob and Scrap and all that. That's another story. But fast forward to today, her son is now an MC, and he was on stage with Redman and Method Man. And
Oh,
I don't know his name
okay.
off top,
Yeah. Yeah.
but look, yeah, look out for him. He was just
Okay.
at the Roots picnic. He's up next. He's up next
Yeah, because
for real.
I thought you were gonna say Del P because he was on stage also at the Roots picnic, and he was with
Okay,
DJ Active was his DJ for his.
okay,
Yeah, I thought you was gonna say
okay.
Del P. That and real quick, shout out to that brother that you just mentioned because I did see footage on him, and I'm telling you
Yeah,
right, Del
Del
P,
P.
Del P is he's very consistent, and
Dope.
it's like this. It's like I'm not gonna say he's almost similar to you, but like
Okay,
his rhyme patterns is like he's really rapping, he's really telling a story. And when I mean
that's
telling
what's
a
up.
story, like he's really consistent. Yeah, that's another one to be on the watch for. But
I have heard. You know what? I have heard his name. I gotta
okay.
listen to some more of his stuff. I gotta listen to his stuff. Well, I have heard his name among certain circles, so he definitely must be official.
Yeah, very dope, brother. I'm telling you, very dope. But
Yeah, I'm gonna check him out.
fast forwarding now, you know, the last emperor, you've been on Sabi Radio, like I said, 2017. You're promoting a project then up until now. Now, my question to you is, and this is the one thing I like about you and I respect about you. When I mean that you go off the grid, you literally go off the grid. It's like because
Yeah,
big shout out to Bugman out there because he linked me
yeah.
with.
Shout out to Bug.
You know what? I was almost the interview's almost over, and I told you I I apologize, Bugman. That is my man right there. I mean, like,
Yeah, that's family right there.
shout out to Willingboro, New Jersey, man. But look, anyway,
Yeah.
you came up to the radio station. You were promoting your project that was out then. Now,
Yes.
years later, you have another. My question to you: why is there such a gap in between your music? But we love that though.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes for me. I'm the sort of MC that has to live life in order to have something to write about.
Got you.
So if you'll notice, once the gap was over, around 2018, I started just putting out more material. Like
Yeah, did.
it started with like Jungle Gym season one.
Yep.
Then it was Lord of the Fly. Then it was I put out a horrorcore album called The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wolfman.
Okay.
And so now today we have Program. So once I got over, obviously the same peaks and valleys that we all go through in life. Losing loved ones, um, having to work, having to take care of family, battling, whatever depression and the same stuff that we all go through.
Hmm.
Sometimes I have to be in a creative space to say, okay, now it's time. Put this out. I'm
Okay.
always working on something, but sometimes I just sit back and say, it's not time to release this yet. And then sometimes, like I said, 2018, I linked up with the homie Hot Fillmore, and it started out with like one track. And that one track, I was like, this is it. I had
Nice.
the script already written for Jungle Jim. So once he started with the track, it was like I had the score to it. So now I just had to fill in the blanks. So that's how Jungle Jim happened. And it sort of opened up the floodgates. Once again, I said, okay, let me just start putting some stuff out. So, here we are today.
Man, Jungle Gym was a great project, man. I like that was
Thank
one of
you.
my highlights when you came up to the radio station, man, and to promote
I
that.
appreciate it.
And but the crazy thing about it is, it's like when everybody heard you on the radio station, they're like, "Well, yo, it's like we didn't even know that this album was out." But then, not saying because of my show, but then maybe like a few weeks later, because the one thing I like about you is like if you try to go online to find your stuff, like
Yeah.
if you want to download it or rip it for free, you can't do that. That's why I say that's why I always liked you, because it's like you are like a man to me. Not even just that. It's like, okay, where's he at on social media? So like real quick,
Right. Right.
because I like you're on social media, but you're not on
Yeah.
social media. So like, is
Right.
that by design that you do that?
Yeah. I think, in order for me to kind of maneuver and move the way I need to move, like I want to be a part of this whole social media thing, and in terms of people having a certain amount of access and awareness of the music. But I don't really want people all like, what I'm saying, like trying to be invasive in my life per se. You know what I mean? Because first of all, you're not going to find anything that fascinating. I'm a homebody. I don't go anywhere. I watch TV. I watch movies, um, stuff like that at home. So, but yeah, man, I just try to make sure it's all about the music and that we have this experience together. I want to be a part of the movement that brings fun and excitement and adventure back to hip hop. Jungle Gym was all about adventure. I always wanted to do an adventure album, so I did that. I always wanted to do a more suspenseful yet fun album. I did that with Lord of the Fly. I always wanted to be quietly, from working with Prince Paul and working with RZA and working with rest in peace Too Poetic, aka Tony Titanium. I always wanted to be one of the grave diggers. I was never able to, so I wanted to. So I said, hey, why don't I just do my own horrorcore album? So
Yep.
I did The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wolfman. So I'm just trying to create projects that make people have fun and go somewhere else. We don't have to always only imagine to be gangsters or drug dealers or pimps or thieves or killers. We can be, an adventurer in the Amazon searching for the lost city of gold. We can be in pursuit of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We can be a Sith warrior, someone who's fallen to the dark side of the force, as with the record Revenge on this new project called entitled Program, produced by Madsol Desar. We can do so many things with this art form. I just want to be one of those people who pushes the envelope and lets us have some fun.
That's what's up. Now tell me the concept with the new project that's out with called Program. And why did you spell program like that? Because I know it's a meaning behind that.
Definitely. The new project is entitled Program. It's fully produced by my comrade in hip hop, Madsol Desar. He's a very, very talented DJ slash beat maker out of the Boston area. He and I first linked up during the Lyricist Lounge days. He ended up being my tour DJ. He ended up producing records for me like Do You Remember, which was on the And One soundtrack. He produced records like just so many tunes and so many records over the years, but we had never locked in and created an entire album.
Project,
so
right.
we finally we finally decided to produce an entire album about 3 or 4 years ago. So he would come down from Boston, I would come up from Philly. We would meet in Brooklyn for a few hours each session and record a few songs here and there. And it just came out really well. Now it's entitled Program because anytime the record is basically a one-man play, a one-man stage play. And anytime you go to see a theatrical piece, whether it's a Broadway play, whether it's a musical, they present you with a program so that you can know who the characters are. You can read when the scenes, who's performing in which scene, who the characters are. All of that stuff is in the program. What music's being played during which sections. So all of that during a program. Now, we spelled it. I decided to spell it in the French fashion, which is the way it will be spelled in French, because Madsol Desar is Haitian, which we know was a Haitian colony and was colonized by the French for many years, but yet gained its independence in 1804 with the help of Toussaint L'Ouverture. So shout out to all my Haitian Massive out there. They're very strong people, very resilient people, and it comes across through his music. So that's why I wanted to give it like the French spelling. Okay. And also, one of the central characters within Program happens to be a musketeer, because in looking at French art and French literature, one of my favorite writers of all time is Alexander Dumas, who created The Three Musketeers, The Count of Monte Cristo, The Man in the Iron Mask, all which have been made into major motion pictures. You name it. The icon status is there. So we basically role play on this album. So the first record is a record called Revenge, in which we see me almost as a fallen Jedi. Now, with what we know with the Jedi is that the Jedis are the quote unquote positive peacekeepers throughout the galaxy that George Lucas created. But sometimes, whether it be through lust, through greed, through hatred, through disappointment, through revenge, they can go over to the dark side. So the first record is basically me lamenting over the things that have happened to me, some of which we've discussed already, some of the MCs and some of the labels and situations that I've had that have somewhat created this dark side character. So we have basically an MC at the beginning, and he's lamenting about why he's gone over to the dark side and why he wants revenge against the MCs who have come after him. So that's one character. Another character is a musketeer. I kind of fashioned myself on this record as like D'Artagnan, and Madsol Desar, June Life, which is another talented artist that he's working with his family. We create, we become the Musketeers. I've even got a record with Ed OG,
Yep.
famous MC, iconic MC out of Boston. He's on one of the Musketeer records. So it's basically a slew of characters on one album, and it sort of plays out like a play. And when we perform it eventually, it's going to be carried out like a play. That's why it's called Program.
You know what? And that's the one thing I like about you. Not just with this project, but with past projects. You don't you you specifically handpick your features, and the thing about it is it's not oversaturated with features, and it's just the right amount of features that you have on each project. So I
Yeah,
shot that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I just I'm constantly checking off my bucket list, man. There's a lot of guys. I've worked with a lot of iconic artists, whether it be Dr. Dre, whether it be the RZA, whether it be Prince Paul, the Beat Miners, Smith and Wesson, Master Ace, rest in peace, Dave Trugoy from De La Soul.
Mhm.
You name it. KRS-One, Zach De La Roca, Rage Against the Machine. So I'm constantly, adding more people to that list. And this time around, it was Ed OG. What can I say, man? He's a extremely talented individual. He's from the boom bap era. He's still putting out really dope music. So yeah, I'm not one of those people who likes like a whole bunch of features just to be doing it. Like it has to fit. It has to fit. And a lot of times my music, I already have a script written out. So I'm specifically looking for people who I think who can fill those characters and play those parts.
Now, was it hard getting Ed OG up there, or was that like a instant slam dunk for him because of
Oh,
the
that was
boss?
it. He already had a relationship with Mad Soul, from
Okay.
them coming coming from Boston. So, they already had a relationship, so it wasn't hard at all.
No, that's what's up. Now, with this project that's out right now, I see you. I saw you at Rap is Out of Control. I mean, shout out to DJ Eclipse for having you up there. You're
Word, peace
really,
to Eclipse.
yeah, you're really making your rounds. You actually have a show in like a week and a half in Philly or something like that, and you know,
Yeah,
big shout out to my brother out there, Jay Ski, man, because he's gonna
salute to
host.
Jay Ski.
Yeah, so tell the people about the show in Philly.
Yeah, it's coming up, man. It's going to be downtown. It's hosted by Jay Ski. You know what I'm saying? It's just basically listening. People coming out listening to it, man. We're going to shoot you all the correct information on the when and the where and all that. My man Bug put it together. Bugs and Ranks. It's something that they're going to be doing frequently, and I'm setting it off, man. And anytime those two guys and Jay Ski, and I want to give a shout out to the whole Jersey, all my Jersey sluggers. Willingboro, New Jersey has been very, very prominent in my career. Um, it's just so many people. My man Megademus. We did a lot of my science team records, the science team era. I'm still science team,
Okay.
all day, all night. But yeah, Bugs going get you the exact information because I don't have it in front of me right now. But we gonna rock. We gonna rock. You know what I
No, that's
mean? But definitely hosted by Jay Ski.
now the one thing there's a couple things I really respect about you as an
Yeah.
MC. One really good thing I really respect about you. Anytime I get a record by you, I don't have to edit it. And do you do that on purpose, not to curse? Because I feel as though that is not it's a special gift. Like you could get your point across without cursing. So throughout
Right.
your career, have you like mastered not putting curse words in your lyrics? And have you
Yeah.
done that?
Well, yeah, I've done that all my life. Like even in my personal life, I'm not really big on profanity. I try to be profound, not profane. I grew up kind of in a culture where, we were encouraged to use extensive vocabulary as opposed to really using a lot of profanity. Now, of
Right.
course, being in the streets, once I jumped off the porch and all that, of course, with my friends every now and then. And now that once I hit 50, I'm starting to let a lot of stuff fly more than than I used to. But
Right.
yeah, I've
Right.
never been a real profanity guy, man. And it just carried over into my music. I never really saw the need for it. Um, so there's only like a handful of times that I let stuff fly, but yeah, it's just my personal life, kind of carries over, and it just helps. It helps because people like yourself say, and over the years, I've been approached by people from, you name it. A couple years back, a college professor from Drexel approached me and told me how encouraging my work was, and that he felt the same sentiment, that he felt it was easier for him to play for his students because it wasn't a lot of harmful verbiage. I wasn't just talking crazy. And people that have children, little children, often come to me and say, "Listen, records like 16 that was on Lord of the Fly, which is very much influenced by Sesame Street and the Children's Television Workshop.
Right.
You can't use profanity on songs like those. And
Yep.
those, when I get people that come to me and tell me that their 6, 7, 8-year-old child loves that record, it makes me feel good, and it lets me know job well done.
I can see you actually holding lectures at colleges and speaking at colleges. Have you ever done that, or is that?
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times. I did a brief speaking engagement at Columbia University alongside Sonia Sanchez and Mos Def. A few things here and there over the years. Yeah, a few colleges have actually had me come and actually say something aside from just performing. So yeah, that's something I would like to look into a little bit more as time permits.
Okay, my last question to you is, when people hear the last emperor, what do you want them to like one word describe the last emperor?
Imagination.
Okay. Now,
I think imagination.
why imagination?
I've always had a very healthy imagination. I always, I think everything starts, with what's going on up here.
Mhm.
Everything, this whole universe started with a thought, and that thought became manifested through word, which is vibration, which is sound. So, as long as I've been involved in this, what people have appreciated is like those very imaginative records by me. I want to continue to service the people. I want to continue to expand my imagination and hopefully help other people expand their imagination as well.
No, that's what's up. Now, how can people get in contact with you? Where can they go support the album? Now, that is the most important thing, because it's like I always ask the artist is at the end of each interview, how can people get in contact with you? And to be honest, this is going to be an exclusive. The last, how can people get in contact with you? Sometimes it is so hard. You know what? And I actually did find you on, well, it's not called Twitter anymore. It was called X. And,
Yeah,
I'm scrolling through. I was like, he's very active up here. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
so
that's the best way. That's the
right,
best way to get at. That's the best way to get at me. You know
right,
what I mean? On X, formerly known as Twitter, the
right.
last Empero, EMPERO 13. So that's the last Emperor 13. That's my official joint. Reach out. We can have conversations. Obviously limited conversations. You can only talk for so much on X, but
Right.
that's the best way. And I always strive to keep people abreast of what I got going on. maybe not at length at as lengthy as some people would like, but I say some things here and there. But yeah, that's the best way to keep abreast of what I got going on. And I just encourage people to, if you know of people that are setting up shows wherever you live, um, just tell them to reach out to me. You know what I mean? Like when you're having these underground hip hop shows and you got some of the larger names on the bill, just ask, request that those venues also reach out to Last Emperor and have him come do. I don't care if it's 15, 20 minutes. You know what I mean? I just want to, I really want to get back into, the live aspect of these records. I think records like Jungle Gym, we have some very special things in store. Records like, this new one program, they're created with the intent of live performance. So again, reach out. We're not gonna, fortunately enough, yes, I want to be paid for my endeavors, but I don't rely on hip hop to pay the bills. So I'm not going to hurt people's pockets too much. I just want to come out and present these records as they should be presented. You know what I mean? And that's live on stage. So definitely, man, reach out. Last Emperor 13 on X. And man, hit us up, man. We out here.
Hey, where can people support the album? Like, do you have a website or is it on streaming platforms?
Right now, program is on Bandcamp. So
Okay.
just go to Bandcamp, support it on Bandcamp, and the proceeds from that allow us to come to a theater nearest you.
No, that's what's up. Hey, look, man, do you got any shout outs before we get out of here?
Yeah, I want to give a special shout out to you, man, and people like yourself who are in radio, who help us stay afloat. Because if it weren't for people like you, Phil, people wouldn't really know on a large scale what it is I'm doing. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure if they wait for me, I'm not like I'm only on I'm only on X. So I think radio and other forms of media are very, very important to keep this boom bap movement alive. We're struggling. When we see what's on mainstream radio and we wonder why the behavior is what it is out in the communities, it's no wonder. It's because they've been inundated with a certain vibration of music. What you're doing is very important because you're giving us, the boom bap hip hop heads, that exposure that we're not getting in other places. So I want to shout you out. I want to shout out the entire WPRB. I want to shout out all my Jersey sluggers. Thanks for Bug. Thanks to my man BUG for putting this together. Salute the King Ranks. Salute the Mega Demons, the whole Willingboro posse. I want to shout out to all my people in West Philly, all my people in Brooklyn. I'm still here. I'm still doing it. And I just want to say peace to the Universal family.
And also shout out to Jay Ski too, man.
Shout out to Jay Ski, Jersey Slugger, extreme turntablist.
Yeah,
he's
man.
Phenomenal, man. Phenomenal.
Jay, real quick about Jay Ski is, since the first time I met him in the mid 90s up until now, he's the same person.
100%. 100%. And a real hip hop head, man. Through it all, through the radio appearances and all that. He's been a hip hop head. And that's what I'm saying. People like that are the backbone of what we do. Because it would just be us doing it in our own little corner of the world, our own, secular set in society. But exposure is what we need and what we lack sometimes. So, I mean, come on, man. And his skills on DJ skills are ridiculous, man. I always say, man, we claiming him. I know he's a Jerseyite and all that, but we claiming him. Philly, we claiming him. We
he's on both sides. He's definitely. Nah,
100%.
Real quick before we get out of here, I got to show you something real quick. I don't know if you can see this, but see this?
Black Apache. Yo,
you
that record. Wow.
You signed this at WPRB, and it's still in the plastic.
That's right.
And I look, who was the producer? Jay Ski.
100%. 100%, man. Once again, man, Jay Ski. I've had so many incredibly talented people be a part of this journey that I'll be running off a list all night. But Jay
Mhm.
Ski is definitely one of them, man. And he's a very humble, very quiet, very humble dude, man. But you know, he's a heavy hitter, heavy Jersey slugger, man. Salute to Jay Ski, and I can't wait to see him in a week.
Word, that's what's up. Hey, real quick, I got one complaint though. I got one
Yeah,
complaint about you.
let's go.
Where are I don't know. Do you really need videos for your songs? Because you just you need, bro. I would love to see a Last Emperor video for one of these songs off a program. So is that in the
Yeah,
mix?
yeah, we're working on that now. Again, that's why it's like we're trying to get the momentum of the record first to give us, you know, some of the, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about money, but we're just trying to see which records also resonate with people the most before we make those moves. But we're actually working right now, and we're trying to do some very innovative things in terms of like animation and all that. So yeah, man, just stay tuned. But all of that is coming. All of that is coming.
The Last Emperor, you always been a friend of mine. You always been, one of my favorites, and it was a pleasure. It was an honor for you to come up to WPRB, and it's even more honor to interview you now. And like I said before, I think I played every last song off the new album right now, and I'm gonna continue to keep playing it. You know what I
I
mean? So,
appreciate it.
and I really want to thank you for coming on and giving us your history and your background, because some of the things I really didn't know, and some things I did know but I just needed confirmation on.
Yeah.
But you cleared everything up, and it was a great conversation that me and you had, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me, sir. And I appreciate you and all your endeavors. And we'll talk again very soon.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
And that was my man, the Last Emperor, man. Hey, look, man, let me tell you something. That was a good interview. And, I hopefully, this will be the mark for dope interviews, because this is more with me, just me solo with Sabi Radio or with DJ Soulbuck, man. So, it's for the first two interviews that's been posted, King Arthur and Louis Sincere, and now the Last Emperor, I think we're off to a good mark, man. Like I said, video interviews go a little bit further. So I really want to thank the Last Emperor for coming on, and I really don't know who I'm gonna have on the next Side B Radio video interview, but whoever it is going to be dope. So you just got to stay tuned for that, man. Big shout out to J Ski. Big shout out to Bugman. Big shout out to the whole Willenboro posse out there. Shout out to West Philly. Shout out to DJ Soulbuck. Like the community, like we all support each other. And that's the one thing I love about our hip hop community, that we actually sit there and we will support, we will go to each other's shows, and and we will pay respect and support them, financial wise, by buying merchandise or purchasing the music. I mean, we just support, period. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in contact with Bugman and J Ski to get the official date, because I know it's like within the next week or two or something like that. So I'm gonna post this hopefully a week before, then we can get things rolling. So thank you for everybody for tuning in. I don't know who I'm gonna have the next episode, but it should be dope. So I'll talk to you guys next week or whenever. Peace.
I rode for 3 days without resting to intercept the message in question. A small chateau on the west end. To confront Richelieu's henchmen, we exchanged words, and before long, a crew of them emerged with swords drawn. To be clear, I never fear a threat. Since my days as a young musketeer cadet, my brothers take up arms and intervene. To be a musketeer is to be a team. Find success in your attempt to flee the scene, and by decree we will send you to the guillotine. I'm a soldier, my squadron is elite, commissioned by Louis the 13th. On the mic, battling can be a tense thing, so we dramatically go at it like fencing. Commencing, roar of the musketeers charge. Swords in the air, get scarce or get scarred.
Under your breath like you knew this day was coming. Prophets that unite.
Roar of the musketeers charge. Swords in the air, get scarce or get scarred.
Under your breath like you knew this day was coming. Prophets that unite.
Yo, Edo the black sheep talking this and that. From the bottom to the pro-black aristocrat. Where your pistols at? You should stick to that. And your brown is my complexion, but my dick is black. Spit the facts on a list of tracks. I ain't talking about riots where resistance at. We can reach the whole world where the distance at. Only hoes where the sisters at. New niggas asking where the strippers at. Risking that, I'm number uno, one stinger. The fun bringer, you a gunslinger. I'm in and out while some linger. Lose a bag on a humdinger. Terrible rappers with an auto-tune singer. Standing on shaky blocks like Jenga. No one want to blame, everybody point the finger. Yeah, they all say it, Edo, you overlooked. I wrote my own chapter to the rappers who wrote the book, nigga.
Roar of the musketeers charge. Swords in the air, get scarce or get scarred.
Under your breath like you knew this day was coming. Prophets that unite.
Roar of the musketeers charge. Swords in the air, get scarce or get scarred.
What's going on? Under your breath like you knew this day was coming. Prophets that unite.
Now here comes the rain again, dripping down like gold chain. Got me wondering, the weather too salute to had to be fighting them. That shit must have been insane. I would have been out of my brain. No medicine, no barbacoa drinking. My nigga, you should see Henri Christophe Citadel in the mountain before I let go of the song. I wish that bullet hit the building that Martin Luther King. I'm out like a voodoo priest praying. Tap in.
Roar of the musketeers charge. Swords in the air, get scarce or get scarred.
Under your breath like you knew this day was coming. Prophets that unite.
Roar of the musketeers charge. Swords in the air, get scarce or get scarred.
Under your breath like you knew this day was coming.